Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, and that is Tim. We are going to talk about Ash vs. Evil Dead, Season 2, Episode 2. It's called The Morgue. Full spoilers for the episode are about to follow. I loved this episode.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It was great.
It was everything I want from Ash vs. Evil Dead. It had some genuinely creepy, like sort of horror moments. It had ridiculous, over the top slapstick horror moments with gore and whatever else, and it was just consistently very funny. Like the dialogue in this one was cracking me up. So this was like everything I expected out of this show. It's everything I wanted out of this show. I mean, I expect it now, but this is, and I think it's
Yeah,
getting better as well. I feel like if I have a complaint about season one, and I don't have a lot of them because season one was great,
yeah,
it it was that it felt very. They're on the road. Start of the
mhm,
episode, they pull into town. Something happens there. End of the episode, they get back on the road, and that was like every episode. It was
yeah,
like that. Whereas this one, it feels like they're doing something different. They're staying in Ash's hometown, and we're building up more of a supporting cast because we see the sheriff from last episode again in this one,
yeah,
and obviously Ash's dad's becoming a character. I'm sure Linda will be popping up again. Before we talk about any of the plot, actually, I want to mention I was legit surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised that they brought up Ash's sister from the first movie,
Oh, right.
which was cool. It's a
Yeah,
nice little touch because obviously it makes sense that, well, if this is his dad, then they,
yeah,
they should mention that his sister did die in the first movie.
yeah,
So I like that we see her room. We don't see inside it, but we see the door and we get a nice
yeah,
little flashback of the movie.
yeah. I thought that was really cool. A lot of times it's like it feels very like reminiscent of the movies, but sometimes you forget that like you can't think of it as its own thing,
It's
and so
so
it's always nice.
it's so
Yeah,
distant for the
yeah,
most part, because it feels like such a long time ago, and it feels like, I mean, it feels very connected to Army of Darkness, I'd say, in tone more than
yeah,
anything else, and it always kind of has done. But that was like a nice little connection to the first movie, so that was appreciated.
yeah,
So the plot of this one is that they go back to Ash's dad's house, and Ruby's like, right, before we even go after my children, we need the book, we need the necronomicon, and he's like, all right, I hid it in a body in the morgue. So Ash and Kelly go to the morgue to get the book, whilst Pablo stays behind with the special knife because he wants to interrogate Ruby about the visions that he's having and whatever, just how messed up he is since the book got attached to his face.
mhm,
And so that stuff, first of all, that stuff's pretty straightforward. He has another vision of her slitting his throat, which, by the way, that throat slit looked great.
yeah,
Blood all over the place. Phenomenal.
mhm,
Uh, and they end up fighting the Deadite, which is the one that wakes up from the hospital at the start. Which,
mhm,
by the way, that was the creepy scene I was talking about. That was legitimately quite creepy. It was like
yeah.
the body waking up and coming out of the compartment.
The yeah,
Yeah,
the morgue drawer
yeah.
or
I,
whatever.
I feel like there's probably like a proper name for one of
Yeah.
those, but yeah. And like the mortician's like working away, and I loved how the song he was listening to, the singer sounded like a Deadite. Was that just
Yeah.
me? Yeah, like
I didn't think about that while I was watching it, but looking back, I can see that.
yeah, it definitely sounded like that to me. But and I love how the killing blow, well, not the killing blow, but the big, how like a scare builds up and it's like tension,
Mm.
tension, creepy shots. We don't see
Yeah.
who it is, or where they are. And you know how a scare would always build up to that moment where they finally pop out and do something. I love that
Yeah.
the moment where that happens in this is a slice to the back of the ankle because that is like,
Yeah. Oh,
uh, that makes you squirm. It's like, oh no, like
yeah.
So
That's and then it's all and it kind of reminded me too of the scene that always gets me in the first movie when they one of the Deadites stabs one of the guys with a pencil in the Achilles heel.
mm,
Kind of like anything around that kind of heel back of the foot kind of area. It's always like a little gruesome.
yeah, it's I'm not sure why that is, but it is. Everyone agrees that the
Yeah,
idea of getting, I think that, and I think kneecaps as well is quite
yeah,
squirmy. But anyway, so that's the sort of the intro, and so yeah, Pablo and Ruby just they have their scenes, and the Deadite pops in, and Ruby kicks some ass, and we get some fun running jokes with Pablo being a vagina
yeah,
because her children
mm,
came out of him, and there's a sort of running theme with that. And I love how when they're leaving the room, Kelly like turns around and gives them the fingers to
Yeah.
symbolize vagina, which is funny.
Yeah.
And also Ashley's like running joke of don't touch anything in here unless it's
Oh
tidying
yeah,
up.
to tidy up.
he
That got me like every time.
Yeah, he repeats it 3 times because see when he says it the first time and he turns to Pablo and Kelly, or to Pablo specifically because he's going to stay behind. He turns to him and goes, "No, I'm serious. Don't let her touch anything." And I thought he was going to say something else, like there was a serious reason by what he said, and then he just paused and went, "Unless it's to tidy." He just says that again, and it's just crack me up. Ash was on fire in this episode, and one of the things that happened in this episode, for me, one of the main things I noticed was, and I said this I think during the finale last season, that they're kind of like prepping Kelly to be the sort of the successor to him, like she's going to be like the female Ash, and I felt like in this episode, between her interaction with the sheriff where she basically leads him on to kick the crap out of him, which I thought was amazing that he was ready for a fight, like he was going straight in like for a brawl, and she kicked the crap out of him, which was just great fun. But also the scene where they're in the car and the sort of young punks, the teenagers, like start giving them crap, and they basically just start shouting at them about going through puberty, and they both give them the finger, like all of that. It felt like she was kind of, as much as she's not as vile as Ash, like another running joke was she kept getting like grossed out because like there were places where he'd had sex, like he pointed at the bed, he pointed at the back seat, but as much as she's not like that, the way she was like handing out the insults felt very Ash-like.
Like she's both like being very badass, like in terms of like even in the first episode of the second season as well, I kind of felt like this where she can like definitely handle her own like in terms of fighting and stuff, but then also kind of like the insults and like the one-liners. I feel like she's getting more and more of those, and like in this episode when like Pablo kind of like stands up for himself, and he's kind of like, oh, like now who's a vagina, and she's like, well, actually vaginas are like very strong, so anything like you're more.
I didn't think about it at the time, but you're right, that's a very Ash like response, but she turns it into like a positive. She flips it. That is a very Ash thing to do, actually, now that you mention it, because that was just funny on its own, but you're right, that's actually very Ash like. But no, that all that stuff with her and Pablo was fun. Kelly's definitely she's not my favourite. Obviously, Ash is my favourite character because it's Ash vs Evil Dead. But Kelly's my favourite character other than Ash. Yeah,
and if like the more this series goes on, the more I'm really starting to feel affection for these characters, and if it does ever end up with her, spinning off into like maybe like her own little series, or if they do like a mini series or something, or with her, like at this point, I'm really liking the characters, and I'd be all for, like, again, like no one can really replace Ash, and he's always kind of the person you want to go to, but like if that's not always possible, and we do get extra stuff with these other characters, I'd be very happy with that as well.
Yeah, she could be a successor if Bruce Campbell wants to call it quits and wants to have a big finale. Like say this show runs 5 seasons. At the end of season 5, he sacrifices himself in a blaze of glory with a middle finger in the air, and we like then they decide, but we want to do like a movie spin off or whatever, and but have Kelly as the main badass. Then I'd be down for it. It would be cool, and I feel like they're building her slowly, which is really nice over the course of the show. But of course, the one main thing we've not talked about, obviously it ends with they've got the book and it's in the car, and those punks drive off with it, and that's the cliffhanger for next week. So obviously next week they're going to have to track down these idiots and get the book back. But the big scene, of course, that we've skipped over here, the big set piece moment of the episode, is Ash in the morgue.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love how Kelly points out as they go in, by the way, this is shady. We're not meant to be here. This is a morgue. You don't just casually walk into a morgue. But he's in, and he tries to use their tools to cut open the bodies, but he says, these suck. And he grabs his chainsaw, and he goes through like 5 bodies. He pulls out intestines. He gets covered in blood, and I laugh so hard when he lifts up the drape, and it's like you can clearly see the book like sticking out of the skin. Like you can see the clearest shape of it. You know, all the corners like sticking out of the guy's stomach, and he's like, it's just, it cracked me up. It was proper funny.
Yeah, plus like it's just like obviously like, he should have been looking for someone like with big stitch marks like on their like.
Yeah, because she obviously
like,
she obviously cut into someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's so funny. But of course, that's just the beginning of it. So he tries to take it out, and the intestines are alive, and they're wrapping around it. And the end of the intestines have got like a little sort of almost alien head style thing.
Like parasite kind of.
And it's all very fun and slapstick, you know, things attacking him, he's getting tangled up and he's rolling around and all that. But again, we've not even got anywhere yet, because I actually noticed around this time, because you see the guy's body that he's taking the book out of, I did notice that there's some full frontal nudity, and I did notice quite quickly, that is a giant piercing that guy's got in his dick. Like, you know, this giant cock ring, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what I did not see coming... you know, because the intestine starts pulling him towards the body, and it's sort of going up that area, and the body's like pulling down onto him from the table, and I was like, oh god, the dick's going to go in his mouth. Well, that's where I thought it was going.
Yeah,
that's where I thought it was going. However, it instead pulls him straight through the guy's asshole, and we get him flailing around with his head in the guy's like sort of stomach that's open, so we see Ash's face. And he's like flailing around, and it's just the whole thing. And even as it's going on, the guy's dick's kind of hitting his face. Like, everything about it is just ridiculous and absurd and silly. And I loved every second of it. It was great.
Like leading up to the episode, the show's like Twitter kept putting out stuff saying like, oh, like Deadites are assholes, and you'll see what we mean. Like. Coming up in this episode, so I kept doing like there's something there's gonna happen with a like butt or a rectum, but I didn't know if it was like something's gonna go up Ash, or you know, if something's gonna explode out of a Deadite. And then once you get like, you know, he's kind of up against the table and the body's slowly sliding under, and you just see like the mountains of crap starting to flow, and you know, Bruce Campbell just looking up and like saying, was he saying like, oh no, not the butt, not the butt. Like then at that point you're like, oh no, this is gonna happen.
And when he comes out and Kelly asks him what happened, he's like, let's call it a colonoscopy.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about his character is like he kind of just like, he's not happy that this stuff happens, but he very quickly accepts it. Like, you know, I feel like other characters in movies and stuff, they would like, you know, harp on about it, or they'd have like these really big like emotional reactions to it. But like for him, it's just kind of like, oh, this sucks, but it happened. Like, let's get over it.
Well, he brushes over it, but Kelly's like just like appalled by the smell. Like, just it's completely disgusting. And I love the shot when they're in the car actually. And she's like got her head like halfway out the window, and we like focus from that angle, and it just accents like just how much, like, because I feel like most movies and TV shows, like, they'll make a joke about how much he smells, but then they'll forget about it immediately. But that entire scene, like her head's like just like hanging outside the car, it's great. So very fun episode. I'd say it's a step up from the premiere. Not that the premiere was bad, but I feel like this just, you know, all came together. Lots of fun. Looking forward to next week. So. Yeah.
Get a little more, a little more backstory with him and his dad. We find out that he looks like they might have had some fights over women. Possibly.
Yeah. Actually, I love that moment, because when he notices his old like gym teacher getting into the class, getting into the house, and he's talking about how I did on the back seat, and then. Like, she starts kissing his dad. He's like, again? And then I love Kelly's like, what do you, again? And she gets this big grin, like this big giant smile, like she knows she can use this. Like, she's excited by this prospect that she can rub this in his face. But no. So yeah, that's Ash vs Evil Dead episode 2. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. All that stuff. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching, and keep killing Deadites. We'll see you next time.